Hi guys, and we are back to part 2 of what is echolalia. And in this second part of this topic.
Is that recording?
Yes.
Already?
Yes. And in this second part of this topic,
Are you going to clean up right?
one second, I'm gonna go and murder someone. For the second part of this topic, we will be talking about confusing information on the web about echolalia. It's my understanding that most articles and medical professionals either do not understand exactly why echolalia presents itself so differently in many people in the spectrum, or they have done a terrible job at explaining it. It appears to me that many professionals seem to have a very confusing perspective of what echolalia is supposed to be, especially because many of them talk about it or see it as something that is supposed to be functional. And their idea of functional is to be able to communicate with others, which is not what most of us use echolalia for, which is actually not what echolalia is for. Although it can be used as a tool to communicate for those who have speech impediments, and it can be an indicator of speech impediment when children continue to use echolalia instead of using their own creative language. I will be linking the articles that I believe have the most accurate information. I also believe that intellectual disability will have an effect on a person's echolalia tendencies. Therefore, echolalia is displayed differently on everyone. And since I don't have an intellectual disability, but I do use echolalia, it's clear to me that utilizing echolalia has nothing to do with intellect or disabilities or impediments. I believe that when individuals that have speech impediment use echolalia as a type of survival mechanism in an attempt to find some middle ground to communicate, since they don't have the ability to create language or form sentences or recall words, but can repeat what others say and match it to the meaning like a memory game. I always say that the mind is very powerful and there's always more than one way of doing things. Different departments in the brain can do different things, and when one department is not working optimally, doesn't mean that other departments can't help. Now I'm going to go ahead and discuss this article that I found online that is called "Forget What You Learned About Echolalia: The Benefits of Repetitive Speech." Optima Press, and it goes like this. I remember as a little girl in the early 70s being told to stop umming and deep throat stimming. While the vibrations were extremely soothing to my overtaxed sensory system, it apparently did not have the same effect on other people. Likewise, I processed my thoughts by repeating them in my conversations. In high school, I was informed that I said the same thing over and over again, and then I was politely asked to stop. You probably have your own stories about how your voice was silenced. Scientists have studied how the brain responds to mantras, and they have found some evidence that improved immune response, increased concentration, and decreased worry are just a few of the many benefits of focusing your concentration on a single pointed word or phrase. This article talks about how mantras have all these mental health benefits, and it just really made me think about about the effects that actions such as praying and meditating have on people. I actually didn't know that humming was a type of echolalia until I read this article, and this reminded me that one of my cousins actually, who he's been one of the few of us that has been actually officially diagnosed with, well, at that time, he got diagnosed, as a young kid at that time, he was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. But anyways, he's also on the spectrum and always does this humming when he's concentrated on a task. So I had him actually help us out last winter on our business when he was visiting for a few months, And he was actually excited to have, that was going to be like his first job. And he was excited to earn money. So we trained him and we showed him the gist of everything. And once he got the hang of it, and okay, go do, you're going to be in charge of this task on so-and-so appointment. And I would notice that once he was concentrated on the task, he will start doing this humming sound. He'll be like maybe vacuuming and stuff, and you can still hear him going like this. And when you talk to him, like you would think, oh, somebody with a mental disability would, do sounds like that. But that's not true. He's, I think he's already about 19 years old, and he is a very smart kid. When you talk to him, he just like looks and talks like any regular teenager his age. But he does ukulele, and when he's concentrated, he'll do little sounds like that. So that is not something that is not common among adults. It's actually very common. You don't have to have a speech delay. You don't have to have an intellectual disability to actually still do ukulele, which is very common actually in my family for us to have similar idiosyncrasy things like that. So I once asked him about it to get more insight about just curious why did he do that sound. And he actually admitted to me that he wasn't always aware that he would do it. Like he knew he would do it, but he wasn't always conscious about it. And he was surprised to see that I actually noticed that. I'll be like, hey, you're doing that sound, or why are you doing that sound? And be like, what sound? Like, oh, I was doing it right now. Like that was his usual reaction. So I asked him, like, since when he started doing it, and just get more insight. He told me he wasn't always aware, and that he actually never gave it much thought into like why it was that he would do such a humming sound. He just assumed that it was just like a family trait or a tick or something that he just never saw it as something completely out of the ordinary. Never just gave it much thought to it. Just like me with my hummings, I never took it very like why do I do this and other people don't? Like it was just kind of like, oh yeah, I guess I do that. It was just we never really gave it much thought to it until recently. So my humming sounds are actually different. When I'm concentrated or like spacing out, I do more like I do this. I do like little humming sounds like that. Usually I'm humming either a sound or usually I'm humming a song. That's the most common one that I think I remember. I don't do like my cousin will do more like an like a mantra, like like it was just a straight up like one plain sound. I don't think I do much of that. I mainly do songs. I hum songs for them. Yeah, it's usually a song or a sound effect or either an instrument or something, but it has to be like a rhythm. I'm usually just the echoing of a song that I'm thinking about or something. But funny thing is that it's just like I find it very like funny. It just like cracks me up when I see people's reactions when they hear me humming. Because sometimes I'm like, I don't even know that I'm doing it, and they just snap me out of my concentration zone. But sometimes I catch myself too. I'm aware that I'm doing it, and either or. Many times I notice people are just kind of like this, like. Is that you doing that? Is that you doing that sound? And I'll be all like, oh yeah, that's me. I do that sometimes. more often than not, they will ask like why are you doing that? Like why are you doing that sound, or what is that you're doing? And they just get intrigued, and I'll just tell them, right, like, oh, well, just that I'm humming or helps me concentrate, or no, like I'm just like singing a song or stuck with the song. It's more often than not they'll just ask like why. It's very rare when I can't even remember, to be honest, but I do know that it's been maybe like very small occasions in my life that people will be, you know, dicks about it and just
be like, can you just like not do that, please? That's like really annoying.
or whatever. And in those situations, I tell them to
Gonna fuck themselves.
I'm just kidding. I can't even remember what did I do in the situation, but depending on the situation, I'll be all like, okay, you know, because I'm not supposed to do that in church. But other than that, it's usually strangers, people that don't know me. They'll just, you know, be rude and they don't care why I'm doing it. They just want me to stop doing it. Because most people and people that I'm acquainted with, they're usually, you know, understanding, they respect, but they're just, you know, intrigued by like, why are you doing that, you know? That's just the reaction.
But it's funny.
Anyways, this got me thinking like, you know, no wonder I always done humming. I actually always thought it was one of my just stims, you know, or I used to call it a tick. Which is one of the most common traits that amongst autistics that we hum. That's something that my mom would always make me aware about, you know, that was one of the first peculiarities that she noticed in me as little, that I would hum. I would hum when I'll be left alone or in the car, etc. And she found it very adorable. Of course, we always find things that babies do adorable, right? But the second we grow up, we are found unappealing and criticized for showing behaviors that are outside of the ordinary or not age appropriate. So I do my hummings very randomly when I am concentrating on something, whether it's work or homework. Also, I think this is related to ukulele as well. The fact that I also find the need to read out loud, because otherwise I cannot really concentrate to my own reading. To the very least, I need to read at a very low voice, but I must hear the sound of the words, which helps me just be able to process the information better, because not only I'm seeing it, but I am hearing it, so it helps me really concentrate, as well as the sound of like it's just all that whole complement together helps me. However, this has caused me multiple troubles in school. I am usually being picked on by other people in the library because of the fact that they can hear me, and it bothers them. And to top it off, I make other stimming sounds, like sucking my teeth like this. And not as often, I don't do that one as often, but it's certain stimuli triggers that stimming. But mainly the S's, which has not made it easy for me at all. And most people are not understanding at all. Even when I tell them that I can help it, they are so critical and harsh in their demeanor, and their comments are so belittling, as if in like make me feel like garbage would make me stop doing these noises. These kinds of circumstances are just some of the struggles that I have to deal with my entire life. Now that I think about it, most people don't really know that I even have to deal with most of this. Circumstances I keep to myself, because once the situation is over, I prefer not to relive it again and have that pity feeling of how much it sucks to be me, stuck over and being, you know, hanging over me. So usually I forget about those incidents pretty fast for the most part. I see no point in sharing them. One gets used to this treatment for the most part until one day you just explode and people think that you're overreacting, but people don't really know how much one builds up. So yeah. Well guys, I hope you guys enjoy this video and this, you know, resonated with some of you. this made you see things into perspective and have a more clear understanding of what autistic people are like, what is to be one of us. Well, in conclusion, I just want to say that, just want to make it clear that echolalia is a great learning and stimming mechanism that our brain has, and that can be used to help us learn new languages, concentrate, relax, and regulate our thought processing, as well as can be used as a form of communication. Thank you for watching.